Hello, and thank you for joining me for this Quaver Ready webinar, where we will explore the value of social learning structures. Today's session will also include a variety of activities you can use to promote student learning and engagement. My name is Stephen Holcomb, and I'm an implementation specialist here at Quaver Ed, and I'm excited to share in this session with you today. Before we get into the various social learning structures, let's first discuss why they are important for your classroom environment. First, the intention of having a social learning structure is to enhance collaborative learning. We want your students to feel like they own their learning, and also we want you to feel like you can facilitate an environment where students are able to collaborate and freely share their ideas. Secondly, social learning structures can be used across grade levels and subject areas. So you may not have the Quaver Ready curriculum, but you could find yourself using this within a music classroom or even in a gym or outdoors. The idea is that you want to incorporate these in a way where students can collaborate and have wonderful discussions and ideas being shared with each other. And then lastly, these social learning structures can be used for three different things. Number one, in gathering. So we want you to be able to use these structures for welcoming activities or even while explaining important parts of your lesson. This may ensure that all students feel included and know that their participation matters. Secondly, you can use these during learning activities. So while incorporating a social learning structure, you can engage with students through fun activities and bring a variety of ways to how they have their discussions. Also, you can conclude the day in summary and reflection by summarizing your lesson and giving students an opportunity to reflect on how to apply what they learn through real life situations. So now that we have this foundation of why you should use a social learning structure, let's take a look at the different types of social learning structures we'll focus on today. I have three for you. So we're going to start off with a whole class social learning structure, and then we'll get into different ideas for pairing together. And then lastly, we'll look at groups of three or more. So let's hop into this and go to our first social learning structure for the whole class. This first social learning structure is going to be our hot potato approach. In this case, you're going to have the entire class in one large circle. As you gather the students in this circle, you're also going to assign an item as the potato. This can be a beanbag. It can be a nice stress ball that's, of course, not made out of hard materials. So you do want to pick something that's going to be safe to pass around your circle. As students are passing the object around, you are going to be playing music. Of course, you can pick songs that you know your students will be inspired by. And then once the music stops, the student holding the potato will answer the question. This is a classic hot potato game. And with this, again, your students are all in a circle so everyone can see each other. And whenever someone is speaking, we can be able to give attention to them and make sure that we are listening very intently. So, if you do have the Quaver Ready curriculum, you could use the hot potato activity by searching this in Resource Manager by placing hot potato in your search bar, or even finding this in the resource toolbox under basic tools. So, what it would sound like is a little something like this.
Yeah, here we go. Hot potato, hot potato.
So I want you to imagine that that hot potato is being passed around, and then once the music stops, whoever has it, they'll be able to answer your question or your prompt for the day. This could be great as a warm up if you want to activate prior knowledge as well. You can use this for a check for understanding potentially towards the end of the day as a part of reflection as well, and just a way to conclude the day. So there's a variety of ways you can implement a hot potato social learning structure. But again, this is just a wonderful way for students to feel more welcome to give their answers in a fun and engaging way. With that being said, that's just one whole class learning structure that we would like to show. And now we're going to move forward to pairing students together. Now, there are a variety of ways you can pair students together instead of just having them turn to a partner that's near them or their desk partner. Instead, let's look at ways that we can do this in a fun and also engaging way. The first one is matching cards. So, with matching cards, you're going to randomly distribute one matching card to each student. Then you're going to have your students move around the room and find the partner with their matching card. It could be as simple as having a peanut butter card. And of course, what goes well with peanut butter? Jelly. So the peanut butter and jelly will try to find each other. And of course, we can expand this in a very, very great way. So it could be peanut butter and jelly. It could be ketchup and mustard for this food themed matching cards, salt and pepper, cereal and milk, and so on. With that, you can create those images to print and cut out into separate cards. You can laminate these so that they can last for a while as well. And of course, you can make this fun by giving themes for your matching cards. So it may not be food themed. Maybe you want to base it off of a particular season. We have Thanksgiving coming up, even Christmas time. Whatever you feel like might be best. Even there may be a school initiative or program where you can match cards based off of that school initiative. With that being said, this is just a fun way for students to, pair up with a partner maybe they've never talked to before, but they might feel a little bit more welcomed because they have that common matching card. So, with that being said, that's just one way that you can pair students together. A second way is a really simple idea of finding someone who, and then you get to fill in the blank. Basically, you're going to have students find a partner based on their similarities. I really like this one because, again, it's very simple. If you do have the Quaver Ready curriculum, you can type in final thoughts within Resource Manager to find someone who social learning structure. Here, it could be something like find someone who came to school the same way you did, by bus, car, walking, or biking. And then students can be able to talk to each other to figure out, did you have this same way of getting to school? So not only will they be able to find a partner through that type of discussion, but then you can further the discussion based off of your main topic or theme for the day. Maybe they can find someone who has the same favorite season as you. For me, I would be finding someone who enjoys the winter time because I grew up in a very hot environment and humid environment. And so I love the winter time. I love cold weather. So again, it's a great way to bring some fun and excitement by finding students who have similar characteristics or even similar likes. With this being said, it can give you an opportunity as you facilitate to learn a little bit more about your students as well. So maybe you didn't know that these two students have the same similar interest. It's a very fun way to incorporate this pairing strategy. In the third spot, we have facing lines. Now, if you've never done facing lines before, we do have a diagram here that you can use. I'm actually going to share this QR code with you. So if you would like to see this particular social learning structure, you can scan the QR code on the screen to save it for later. So in facing lines, what you're going to have your students do is form two lines of equal number. When they're in those two lines, they're going to face each other, either standing or sitting, depending on your activity. Once they're facing each other and ready to have a discussion, you're going to present your prompt or your question, and then they can be able to have that discussion together. Now, if you have more than one question, and if you would like for them to rotate, you can have one line rotate, and then students will be paired with a new partner. That way, they can have a new discussion with a new perspective. You can simply have one student at the end of that line go to the back of that line, and then everyone will shift forward. That way, everyone has a new partner. Again, if you have the Quaver Ready curriculum, you can look and find this activity called What Good Friends Do. So here we have different scenarios where students can be able to discuss what a good friend would do. So, as they're in this social learning structure of facing lines, the first scenario they'll talk through is where Sam is calling Sophia names. Now, we know that that's not a good thing. So, what can Billy here on the right hand side do to be a good friend? Now, to lighten up the atmosphere a little bit, you can also play some music in the background right here with the play button. Now, again, using our imagination here, of course, students are going to be talking, the music is going on in the background, and it may seem like there's a lot of chatter going on. Personally, from my perspective, I usually like atmospheres like that because I know my students are at least giving this a try. Um, if you're facilitating this social learning structure, you can monitor by walking around and just listening in to what students are saying. And maybe you can give a little bit of feedback based off of their conversations as well. So to me, it gives a more lively atmosphere. And it could be more inviting for students who aren't really used to having one-on-one discussions with partners. With that being said, feel free to use music again that you know inspires your students, even if you don't want to use the one on the screen. And as you go through each scenario, again, you can have your facing lines rotate and shift. That way, there can be a new discussion for each scenario. Now, similar to facing lines, in our fourth social learning structure, we have concentric circles, or you can call them inside outside circles. So in concentric circles, the similarity is that students are going to form two circles of equal number. There's going to be one circle on the inside and one circle on the outside. And for a visual, again, I'm going to share this QR code in case you would like to save this for later. Again, in our visual here, as you can see in this box, we have one circle on the inside, one on the outside, and it will be of equal number. What you'll have students do is have a discussion with the person that's right there directly across from them as a pair. And then once you're ready to um, further the discussion by having a new partner, you're going to have students rotate either the outside or the inside circle to talk to that new partner. As an example, in a fifth grade lesson in the Quaver Ready curriculum, dealing with coping with stress, we can see that this activity will have us go through different topics. For each topic, you can have your concentric circles rotate. So you can determine the number of students that you have in the room. And then this just gives you a little bit of assistance as to who's partnered with who. As you can see, our outer circle is odd numbered. Our inner circle is even numbered. When you're ready to rotate circles, you can click either inside or outside for your students to see who they should be partnered up with. Again, this gives a little bit of assistance just in case your system might be a little bit more complex for the activity. When you're ready to reset, all you have to do is select reset, and it'll take you back to the original pairing of this activity. So again, a great way for students to be able to speak to other people who they may not have talked to in a while. But of course, this just gives a variety of perspective as well as you're having your activity take place. Again, you do not have to use technically the activity that I just showed, but whatever you implement as an activity, this social learning structure can be very beneficial. And then lastly, for pairing students, we have clock partners, one of our favorites. So with clock partners, students are going to sign up for a different partner for each time slot of their clock. Again, a different partner for each time slot of their clock. So when needed, and whenever you're ready to assign students, you can tell them to go to their particular numbered o'clock partner. So for instance, go to your 11 o'clock partner, or go to your 6 o'clock partner, or your 3 o'clock partner. If your students have a worksheet similar to this, what they would do is simply sign up for a clock partner in each one of these time slots. The way that you can set this up is potentially having music playing. Your students can be walking around the room as the music plays, kind of like in a hot potato. And when the music stops, whoever they're nearby, in the closest way, they can partner up or pair up with them and then write each other's name for their clock partner in that next time slot, starting with 12 o'clock. With that being said, again, you do want to make sure that your students are placing a different person for each time slot. There shouldn't be the same person. And of course, if anyone ever feels left out, or maybe they're missing someone for a clock partner, you can always help facilitate by, just guiding them to a new person, checking out and seeing who's on their sheet, and then helping in that way. Also, consider refreshing their clock partners every quarter or maybe even potentially every semester. It's a great way to, again, bring variety to the way that they pair with other students. With this in mind, this gives you some ideas on how to pair students together rather than just having them talk to their elbow partner or the person next to them. This can be a fun way to introduce new pairs throughout the school year. With this in mind, we've now talked through a wonderful whole class social learning structure. I just showed you a variety of ways that you can pair students together. And now let's end off today's webinar in talking about groups of three or more. The first group of three or more social learning structure that I would like to show is our four corners social learning structure. This activity is designed to poll students on four potential answers to the same question. I really like this one because, again, you can think of different ways to format your four corners. Your four corners can be based off of a certain theme or a certain topic. In this case, I would like to show one from the Quaver Ready curriculum calling Showing Your Perspective. The particular topic to this activity is No One's the Same. As you can see, this four corners activity is set up so that students can poll based off of one similar question. In this case, the similar question is just showing your perspective on these different scenarios. So either students can feel sad about the scenario. In the green corner, they can feel maybe very happy or excited about that scenario. In that orange corner, maybe they don't feel so well. Maybe they feel a little uneasy about that scenario. Then, lastly, they might feel just a little bit frightened about that scenario. So, for instance, maybe talking about working out in their PE class. How would students feel about that? Or maybe even talking in front of other people. Your students can go to the corner that they feel like is best. And then from there, those students can have a discussion within that group about why they feel that way. So again, it gives a great opportunity for you to learn about your students, but also for them to see the commonalities within the room and some of the differences and learn to appreciate each other in those differences as well. So that's just one idea for a four corners activity in social learning structure. But of course, you can incorporate this the way that you see fit, and it can be used anywhere. I would encourage you to potentially use this maybe even outdoors. Maybe you can create four corners in a sense in one space outdoors. That way, students have a way to, enjoy that environment as well. And then lastly, our last grouping three or more social learning structure would be MatriD. I personally like this a lot because I love food. And so this reminds me of food. So I want you to imagine that you're at a wonderful restaurant at a hotel, and the maitre d' hotel of that restaurant is going to call for different group sizes as if they were sitting a table in that restaurant. In this case, you can also have a student be the maitre d' in this situation, and they can call for a certain group size. So, say for instance, you're calling for a table of three. From there, you can use conversation cards on a particular topic or theme for students to have a conversation after they gather in groups of three. So, for instance, like, what is your favorite cartoon character? Or even, what is the best part of your day? What is your favorite TV show? It's a great way to have a warm up Maybe even use conversation cards that are going to deal with concluding your class for the day, or even again, check for understanding. This can be used in a variety of ways. So again, MatriD is a great way for students to be able to gather in groups of three or more, but to just imagine that they're at a restaurant and then find groups and others who, other people that they may not have talked to in a while or maybe never before. Just wonderful, fun, and engaging ways to have this social collaborative environment. And with that being said, this does bring us to the end of our webinar today. I hope that you've been able to gain some insight on the importance and value of social learning structures, but also I hope that you've been able to see a variety of ways you can implement them to promote student learning and engagement. With that being said, thank you so much for joining me. And I also encourage you to check out some of the other webinars here on our YouTube page. Take care.